In late August of 1964, the New York Yankees were swept in a 4-game series in Comiskey Park. They were swept by the team that was giving chase, the Chicago White Sox. They lost the last game 5-0. After the game, the New York Yankees boarded their team bus that was to take them to O'Hare Airport and their flight out of Chicago. One of the players had a harmonica. Phil Linz began playing his version of Mary Had a Little Lamb, and it was beginning to annoy manager Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra told him to stop playing the harmonica, but Phil Linz didn't hear him. Of course, Mickey Mantle was sitting close by, and Mickey Mantle popped up and said, Phil, he said, play it louder. So Phil Linz played it louder. This really annoyed Yogi Berra. So he got up, walked toward the back of the bus, knocked the harmonica out of Phil Linz's hand. It bounced off Joe Pepitone's knee. And this incident convinced Yankees ownership that Yogi Berra had lost control of his players. And they made the decision to fire Yogi Berra at that time at the end of the season. Which they did, and they hired the World Series winning manager of the St. Louis Cardinals, Johnny King, and the Cardinals replaced King with Red Schoendienst. When I ordered the 1964 Payoff Pitch season, it came with the Payoff Pitch Baseball quick results charts and then a set of rules on the other side of the charts. And these can be used to play a full day very quickly, or if you're doing a season replay, you could go through a schedule fairly fast, probably under a minute per game. And here's how it works. Each team is given a grade, A through F, A being the best. A is the best, B is above average, C is average, D is below average, and F is very bad. And then you compare the results of the two teams that are playing, and you read the favored team's result first and the underdog second. You roll 2d6s, and if you're playing the American League results chart will give you a line which the total of the 2d6 determines who the winner of the game is. And you could just play through that way if you want to know the winners and losers. If you want to know the scores, you can roll 2 d10s with the 2 d6s, and the d10s will give you the final score. Unless one of them is a 0, and then you roll in the normal chart, which is on the right-hand side. Or if the 2 d10s are the same, you go to the big game chart and roll on that chart. If both of your teams have the same letter grade, you use the same grade chart in the middle. If you're playing National League teams, you use that third chart from the right-hand edge of the chart, and below you use the National League results chart. Also want to check the 2d6s against the shutout range of each team, which is on the far right side of the team records and team grades. And if the d6s match that, then the losing team loses by scoring no runs, and their score is the lesser of the 2 d10s. We're going to use the Payoff Pitch Baseball quick results to play October 3rd and October 4th of the American League and National League seasons and see who wins the 1964 pennant. In the American League, the New York Yankees went into October 3rd with a 2-game lead over the Chicago White Sox. I think we're ready to see how Payoff Pitch Baseball quick results plays out. October 3rd, first game, the Detroit Tigers are at the Baltimore Orioles. Detroit is rated B, Baltimore is rated A. So a roll of, for the Detroit Tigers, they're the underdogs. Baltimore is the favored, and AB's 2 through 6, 10, Baltimore will win. Here's the roll. It is a 7, So that means the underdog, Detroit Tigers, are the winners. 7 is on the shutout, is not on the shutout chart. So we'll take the 6. That goes to Detroit. 3 goes to Baltimore. Final score, Detroit 6-3 over the Orioles. That game does not affect the pennant race, but there you have it. Next game is Los Angeles at Minnesota. Los Angeles is rated C, Minnesota is rated C, so we're going to use the same grade chart here in the middle. The home team is 2 through 6 and 8. The visitor is 7, 9 through 12. Here's the roll. We have a 7. That's going to be a visitor's team victory. And it is not on the shutout chart. So we go to the 2d10s for the final score. I'm going to write down 7 here on the score sheet. And the doubles means that it could be a big game result. So we roll all 4 dice again. It's a 88. 88 means that the Angels scored 14 runs, and the 6 is 3 for Minnesota. So a blowout in that game, 14-3. And I can't put that on the scoreboard because I don't have 2 digits, but 4-3 is the final score, Angels over the Minnesota Twins. Again, that one does not affect the pennant race. And our next game will be the Washington Senators at Boston Red Sox. Okay, the Senators are rated F. Boston is rated D. So on the American League results chart, we go to D and F, which is the final line, 2 through 6, 8. Favorite team wins. 7, 9 through 12, the underdogs win. It is a 11, and that means the Washington Senators are going to win. And we check 11 for shutout. 2-12 gives a shutout, so it doesn't give a shutout. We go to the 2d10s. Final score is 6-5. So Washington puts a 6 tally on the scoreboard. Red Sox are losers, 6-5. And that game does not affect the pennant race, but the next game will have a big bearing on the 64 American League pennant race. That's the Kansas City A's at the Chicago White Sox at Comiskey Park. Clear the scoreboard. Kansas City A's are rated F. The White Sox are rated A, so they're the favored team. We'll look at the A through F chart. That is here. 2 through 8 and 10 gives the White Sox the win. And I'll keep them alive in the pennant race depending on what happens in the Yankee game next. Here's the roll. It is a 6. So that is a win for the favored team. And the 2d10s are not doubles, and there's no 0. So that does not require an additional roll. The final score, Kansas City A's tally 3, Chicago White Sox 7. I'll write that down, and 6 with the 2d6 roll. Next game, if the Yankees defeat the Indians, that will eliminate the White Sox. This game was played at Yankee Stadium, and the Yankees are an A-graded team. Cleveland is C. So we go to the AC line. That's the second line. 2 through 6 means a victory for New York, or 8. 7, 9 through 12 is a win for the Indians. Here's the roll. It is a 5. And that's within the range for the favored team. Yankees win. The 2d10 numbers are, none of them are 0, and they're not the same number. So we can use it as the final score. 6 for the Indians and 7 for the Yankees. That'll mean the New York Yankees will win the 1964 pennant, and we won't need to play the October 4th schedule to find a winner. Let's look at the standings at the end of play on October 3rd. At the end of October 3rd, the New York Yankees won their game, so they're 99-62, still in first place. Chicago won their game. They're 97-64, still 2 games behind in second place with only 1 to play. The New York Yankees win the 1964 American League. Okay, on October 3rd in the National League, or actually the end of play on October 2nd, the St. Louis Cardinals were half a game ahead of Cincinnati, 1.5 ahead of Philadelphia, and 2 games up on San Francisco. So those 4 teams had a chance to win the pennant. Here's a look at the schedule on October 3rd. We're going to start with the Colt 45s at the Los Angeles Dodgers. Houston was rated D. Los Angeles was rated C. So D and C favors LA. You read the favorite first. 2 through 6 and 10 will give the Dodgers a win. 7 through 9 and 11, 12 will win for the Colts. Here's the roll. It's a 12. That's going to be a win for the Colts. And a 12 is going to be in the shutout range as well. So you take the 0. Los Angeles will shut out, and you take the lower number of the 98. That's 8. The final score is Houston 8 and Los Angeles nothing. And that final score does not affect the pennant race in the National League. The next game is the Pittsburgh Pirates and Milwaukee. And the rankings for the Pirates are C, and for Milwaukee, the Braves are B. So the Braves are favored on the BC line. That is 2 through 6, 10. Braves win the game. The other rolls go to the Pirates. Here's the roll. 8 is on BC is going to be another underdog win. Pittsburgh wins. 8 is not in the shutout range. So we use the 2 D10s for the final score. Milwaukee scored 2, and Pittsburgh scored 5. Once again, this does not affect the pennant race. Okay, the next game is the Cubs at the San Francisco Giants. Chicago finished their season on the West Coast, and we'll change the scoreboard back to 0. The Cubs were rated C, the Giants are B, so we use the BC line. 2 through 6 and 10 will give the win to the favored team, which in this case is the Giants. Here's the roll. 5, the Giants do win the game. The 2 D10s will give us the final score. They're not doubles, and there's no 0, so it does not require another roll. The final score, the Giants 8 and the Cubs 6. Okay, that game does have a bearing on the pennant race because it keeps them alive. They need St. Louis to be beaten by the Mets. The Phillies and Reds did not play on October 3rd. So the next game is the Mets at St. Louis. Okay, the Mets are rated F team, and the St. Louis Cardinals are graded A. Here's the roll. A and F is 2 through 8, and 10 will give the Cardinals the victory. A roll of 9, 11, or 12 will give them win to the New York Mets and keep the Giants alive. All right, here's the roll. 12, is a win for the Mets, and it does keep the Giants alive. The two D10s will give us a score that we can use. Cardinals 5 and the Mets 9. And that makes the standings at the end of October 3rd even more interesting. St. Louis is 92 and 69. Cincinnati's 92 and 69. They're tied for first place going into the final day. And Philadelphia and San Francisco are one game behind at 91 and 70, 91 and 70. So all four teams still have the opportunity to make the 1964 World Series going into the final day of play. The October 4th schedule in the National League was the same as October 3rd, except for one exception. The Phillies were at the Reds. All right, let's start off with the D-rated Colt 45s at C-rated and favored Los Angeles Dodgers. So C-D gives a 2 through 6, 10 rolls. Dodger win. 7 and 8, 11 and 12. Colt 45s win. Here's the roll. It is 7, and that's going to be a Colt 45s win with a usable score. We don't have to re-roll the score. 6 for the Dodgers and 7 for the Colt 45s. Next game is Pittsburgh at Milwaukee. Okay, this game does not affect the pennant race. Pittsburgh is graded C and Milwaukee is graded B, so Milwaukee is the favorite team on the BC line for the National League results chart. 2 through 6 and 10 is a win for the Braves. The roll is 12. We have a lot of underdogs winning in these 2 days. That's going to be a victory for the Pirates with a usable score of 8 to 2. And I forgot to change the last. But the Pirates have 8 runs. The Braves have 2 in this game. Next up is a game that does affect the pennant race. That's the Chicago Cubs at the San Francisco Giants. Because of the time difference, Cubs fans probably did not like the Cubs finishing on the West Coast, finishing the season with late games. Here is the Cubs are rated C, Giants are rated B. Giants need to win to stay alive, and they need Cincinnati and St. Louis to lose. But they could, they're playing in separate games. So C and B results. San Francisco is the favorite team, and we use 2 through 6 line. 10 will be a win for San Francisco. Here's the roll. It's a 7. That's the underdog also. So that will eliminate the San Francisco Giants. They only managed 3 runs in this game. The Cubs take it 9 to 3. That's all for the Giants' pennant hopes. Next game up is another pennant affecting game. That's the Philadelphia Phillies and the Cincinnati Reds. Both teams are rated A and will use the same grade chart. Both teams need a victory. The Reds need a win to stay tied with St. Louis. The Phillies need a victory and a St. Louis loss to the Mets to continue their hopes. Here's the roll on the same chart. That gives a 6 roll will give the home team the victory, and that's going to eliminate the Philadelphia Phillies. The Cincinnati Reds win the game 5 to 2. We'll get that on the scoreboard. And to double check that, that's the AA same grade chart, home team win with a 6 roll. Okay, we go to the final game of October 4th. Everything is still on the line in the National League. And we may need a playoff between the Cardinals and Cincinnati Reds. If the Cardinals win, they'll finish tied. If they lose, Cincinnati will win the National League outright. Okay, the New York Mets are rated F, and the Cardinals are rated A. That's 2 through 8 and 10. A victory for the Cardinals. In order for the Mets to win, they're going to have to either roll a 9, 11, or a 12. Here's the roll. It is a 6, and that's a win for St. Louis. And we can use the 2d10 score. So the Cardinals finish in a tie with the Cincinnati Reds, winning this game 8-7. So here are your final standings of the regular season as of the end of October 4th. St. Louis 93-69 is tied with Cincinnati 93-69. Philadelphia could not defeat the Reds in their final game. They finished 91-71, 2 games behind the Cardinals and Reds. And San Francisco dropped their 2 games with the final 2 games with the Chicago Cubs, and they finished 91-71, 2 games behind. So that means we're going to have a playoff game tomorrow between the St. Louis Cardinals and the Cincinnati Reds to determine who goes to the 1964 World Series and takes on the New York Yankees. Hope you enjoyed this use of payoff pitch baseball quick results rules. And that got us quickly through the last 2 days of the National League, and it's brought us to a playoffs and World Series. Cardinals and Reds tomorrow. Hope you join us. If you like what you see, hit the subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner. And have a good night, and God bless.